Did you know that celebrities are just like us? Yes, these people that are richer than us, prettier than us, and usually more talented than us share similarities with the common man. They put their very nice pants on like we do, shower in their very nice showers like we do, and for the people on this list, play D&D just like we do. D&D has recently experienced a spike in popularity because of content like Critical Role, Stranger Things, and the upcoming D&D movie, so it's become more acceptable for the rich and famous to be honest about their nerdier hobbies, which has given us content for this list. In fact, we have enough content for a part 2 to this list. If you want to see that, let us know in the comments. And you can help make us celebrities by subscribing and hitting the bell. You can even make the like button more famous by giving it a click. I am the Penitent with College of Lore, and this is 10 celebrities that play Dungeons & Dragons, excluding the main cast of Critical Role for obvious reasons. Number 10, Vin Diesel. Vin Diesel, or Mark Sinclair, which sounds a lot more like the name a frequent D&D player would have, is an action movie star most famous for The Fast and the Furious, and also a massive nerd. While Diesel has expressed some interest in comics and nerdy movies, eventually starring in Guardians of the Galaxy as Groot, his first love is and always has been D&D. He's played the game since D&D Basic in the 70s, which, sidebar, does anyone find it hard to believe this man is 55 years old? From his early roots, Diesel has continued to play up until the modern day, even writing an introduction for D&D's 30th anniversary, as well as a guest feature on Critical Role. His experience has even affected his movies, expanding his love for role-playing early on, and eventually turning into a movie based on his own D&D character, The Last Witch Hunter. Now, I haven't seen the movie, but I am reliably informed that it's one of the films of 2015. But hey, Diesel's effect on the game can't be understated. He's made it easier for jocks to feel cool while trying it out, and even introduced Hollywood A-listers like Carl Urban and Judi Dench to the game. I wonder if he and his brother John Cena have ever played it together. Number 9, Nathan Sharp. Poor Nate. From all appearances, he really wants to play Dungeons & Dragons, and things just don't work out. Dice Camera Action was cancelled, Dark and Dicey was cancelled, and Knights of Evening Star is in its final season. He seems to be someone who just wants to play D&D, but keeps getting that messed up by circumstances outside of his control. So, at least he's getting the D&D experience. Nathan Sharp is probably better known by his now former YouTube username, Nate Wants to Battle. He's most well known for his Pokemon and Five Nights at Freddy's inspired music, but I'd recommend checking out the rest of his original stuff as well. His best-known character is Paulton Seppa, a variant human bard who he played in Dice Camera Action. Despite being a more jokey character at the outset, and Nate being a nearly brand new player, Paulton would end up being one of the deepest and most emotionally resonant characters in the entire run of the show. Hopefully, going forward, he can find a long-term consistent game, either streamed or at home, because he's really good and entertaining. Additionally, congrats to Nate for marrying his Dice Camera Action and Knights of Evening Star co-star Anna Prosser recently. I would congratulate the pair on making Evilton canon, but I won't because that is a genuinely weird thing to say about a pair of real people, and I wish people would stop doing it. Number 8, Stephen Colbert. Another Critical Role guest, the comedian, actor, and late show host was actually on Matt Mercer's dream guest list. He played a solo one-shot as Capo, and participated in the Red Nose Day fundraiser in 2022 as Lucky Jack. His experience with D&D, despite taking a long hiatus, started with him getting in at the ground level. He started playing D&D in 1977, which is somehow 45 years ago. He even attended Gen Con in 1979, and managed to get a copy of the Dungeon Master's Guide signed by Gary Gygax himself. He seems to be properly working his way back into the hobby, and you can tell by watching the Critical Role specials how much fun he's having. He allegedly played D&D at his recent high school reunion, which, imagine going to your high school reunion when you graduated the same year as Stephen Colbert. That has to be a shot right in the ego. Number 7, The Big Show. Well, it's The Big Show. Wrestling and D&D actually have a lot in common. Both involve a fair amount of role-playing. Both have had significant boom periods where they became mainstream, wrestling in the late 90s and D&D in the late 2010s. And the bottom of the barrel of both fandoms are something I wouldn't want to touch with a 10,000-foot pole. Paul Wright has wrestled since the mid-90s for WCW, WWE, and currently AEW, under the monikers The Giant and The Big Show. He also apparently played college basketball at Wichita State, and the idea of playing basketball against The Big Show is terrifying. He is part of a D&D group with other celebrities, hosted by Joe Manganiello, someone we are saving for a potential part 2 on this list. His character is a half-stone giant psychic warrior fighter named Ulak Jotun. And if you're anything like me, you also think that Psychic Big Show is a hell of a gimmick, and I'm honestly surprised Vince never tried that in the mid-2000s. Number 6, Jon Favreau. A director and producer for a large number of movies in the MCU, Jon Favreau actually credits a lot of his success and creativity to being exposed to D&D early in life. Like a few others in this list, he's played well before D&D was actually popular, but while playing, even as a teenager, his head was filled with ideas of how to build a world and story from nothing. He even credits it for his understanding of how to work with CGI, because of how it fuels his imagination. I'm going to assume he had no part in making Black Widow, then. But hey, maybe the next time you want to get your creative juices flowing with your multi-billion-dollar directorial team, you should play a game of D&D first. Number 5, Tom Morello. Fuck you, I won't do what you tell me is a fine motto unless the person you're saying it to is the Dungeon Master. The Rage Against the Machine guitarist and left-wing political activist is actually part of the same D&D group as the Big Show, which means a man of nearly 6 feet plays at a table with someone a foot taller than him. He has personally compared D&D to high-stakes poker on an emotional level, calling it very serious and saying it occupies his thoughts a lot during the week, which now makes me wonder if any songs were directly inspired by it. Moreover, he was also in a high school D&D club, and the love for the game has stuck with him since his early years. Number 4, Anderson Cooper. This one really warms my heart. The normally serious, if personable, journalist stopped by The Late Show with Stephen Colbert. What was Cooper there to talk about? I have no earthly idea, because Cooper is a huge nerd, Colbert is a huge nerd, and the whole interview just broke down into talking about D&D. And I think that's an interaction every single nerd can relate to. Cooper is a fairly private person, so he hasn't said much about his personal characters, but oh, to just see a moment of him letting loose and playing D&D, perhaps with Colbert. Number 3, Gerard Way. Gerard Way is the frontman and singer for My Chemical Romance, a very edgy band for very edgy people, and coincidentally one of my favorites. Even if you didn't know Way played D&D, it wasn't exactly a stretch. In addition to music, they're an animator and comic writer, creating the critically acclaimed Umbrella Academy. Him playing D&D is just one of those things that makes sense, like a College of Lore staff being huge Magic the Gathering nerds. Way hasn't talked much about his own personal experiences with D&D, seeming to keep it more private, but given how high concept his albums have been, I'd pay a frankly stupid amount of money for a D&D adventure set in the setting of Danger Days, or really any MCR album. They also tweeted a picture of a D20 with "I miss my D&D group" as the caption, and now I'm really sad. Gerard, you're welcome at my table any day. Number 2, Myles Garrett. Okay, so I actually probably need to explain who Myles Garrett is, because the middle of the Venn diagram of people who like professional sports and people who like D&D contains about 2 people, myself and Myles Garrett. Garrett, the former first overall pick, is a pass rusher for the NFL's Cleveland Browns. He's a 3-time Pro Bowler and one of the best defensive players in the NFL. Unlike a lot of people on this list, Myles' first experience with D&D was as an adult, in 2020 in fact. Garrett was invited to play by Dungeon Master and former Browns fullback Johnny Stanton. The group also consists of Pro Bowl Browns guard Wyatt Teller, Garrett's best friend and girlfriend, as well as offensive lineman Kendall Lamb, who has since left the group for playing for a different football team reasons. For someone who is 6'4" and 270 pounds, apparently Garrett has a penchant for playing rogues. First as the half-elf Garrett the Grey, and then as the vampire Alucard. And while there are very few D&D players who are star NFL pass rushers, there are several who have made an Alucard. No word on what has become of the D&D group since Stanton was released by the Browns earlier this year, but if someone is hopeful to lure Garrett away in a trade, they might want to look into signing him. Number 1, Robin Williams. I make a lot of jokes in these videos. I like to keep them light and fun, but I'm not going to make a lot of jokes here. The legendary comedian and actor was a huge nerd. He named his daughter Zelda and was deeply into video games, anime, Warhammer 40,000, and of course, D&D. He kept a lot of the details private, as many in this list have, but he was frequently spotted at game stores by fans, and I frankly couldn't imagine a better player than the larger-than-life Williams. He took his own life on August 11th, 2014, and has been missed every day since. I know you've heard this several times over, but hear me out. I have been low. There may be a time when you get low. Do not seek a permanent solution to a temporary problem. The number for the National Suicide Prevention Hotline is in the description below. Please don't hesitate to call. And if that's too impersonal, my Twitter DMs are always open. I'm not doing an outro spiel. Take care of yourselves.